11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
First baseman Lou Gehrig hung up an amazing mark by playing in 2,130 consecutive games. Then a fatal disease attacked baseball's Iron Man. In Yankee Stadium, touched to tears by the tribute, Gehrig made his last public appearance.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad brag. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today? That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
It's kind of hard to follow that one up, but what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Empire 161 Show, episode 5. I'm sorry, season 5, episode 9. On this Sunday evening, it is Lou Gehrig Day, just in case maybe you somehow had missed that one, which is why we opened up with his speech back in July 4th, 1939. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening. If you join us on a Facebook live stream or YouTube or X or wherever you found your audio-only podcast, we appreciate the support. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about this evening. We'll be chatting about some things about Lou Gehrig and his career and his life and everything. So we're going to get into that a little bit. We also got around to Bronx Zoo 1990, which is the documentary on Peacock right now. So we'll be discussing that. And also the week that was in Yankees baseball, which was pretty good West Coast trip, I would say, that they wrapped up earlier today. I'm Ed, and with me as always is Lisa. Lisa, what is going on?
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. Unfortunately, Ed just took all of my intro stuff, so I don't know what else to say. I will say that we swept our games and we're going to the playoffs, but that's a different podcast, I suppose. But yeah, we do have a lot to talk about today, and we're really excited about it. It was an amazing West Coast trip. Definitely worth all the nights sleeping on my couch because my TV is in my living room. And I work in the mornings, so it was kind of hard, but I'm glad we'll be going back to what we consider normal time games on the East Coast, which is usually 7 p.m. on a weeknight. But the Yankees are hot. Aaron Judge is hot. Juan Soto is hot. The entire pitching staff is hot. This is so much fun.
Yeah, they've been on one heck of a roll, and I think the late nights were definitely affecting me the last couple of days and stuff. Like, it started to catch up. Some of those games I was definitely in and out of in each inning, but seems to have didn't really miss the big moments, so at least that part was there. But yeah, it was a pretty long stretch. I mean, when you do it like a couple of days here, but it went on for a while. So it was nice to be wide awake to watch an entire game earlier today.
That it was.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so then let's jump into it. So yeah, as I mentioned, today is Lou Gehrig Day, which this is the 4th Lou Gehrig Day. And Major League Baseball started having Lou Gehrig Day to bring, basically, it's also to bring like awareness to ALS. That's mainly the driving force behind this. It is on the first day he took over as Yankee first baseman, and I know that was mentioned during the telecast a whole bunch earlier today. So, and RotoWear, as always, Lisa and I love RotoWear. They've had these shirts. I got mine a couple of years ago, but, baseball is the best, and you see the ALS down the middle. So all the proceeds do go to ALS. So if you can, go ahead and grab one because it's definitely a great cause. But Lisa, I know you got some stuff on Lou Gehrig as well.
I do. So as you mentioned, today, June 2nd, is the day that he first started playing first base for the Yankees. So fun fact, he came into pinch hit the day before, but today, June 2nd, is the day they consider his first day in the role. And he ended up playing over 2,000 games. I think it was 2,130 at position. Tell me the correct number.
No, go ahead.
He played for 17 years, all as a Yankee. From 1923 to 1939, he was a lefty, both as a batter and throwing. And 16 years to the day that he replaced Wally Pipp was the day that he passed away, and that was 2 years after being diagnosed with the disease. Before I get to his stats, I just want to say something really quickly about ALS and many other diseases that are out there. There is not much learned about the disease since the time that he was diagnosed with it. And in order to study something, you need money for research. So as Ed said, if you ever can, to any disease that may mean something to you, whether it's because a family member experienced it or you have the means, you're just a humanitarian, you just care about others, please donate, because it's really, really important to do research about all these diseases, whether it's ALS, cancer, Parkinson's, even AIDS, even COVID.
Yeah, you're right.
Even COVID. So, just consider that when you have the means and you can donate, please think about that. And think about the research that's desperately needed to help find cures for all these diseases that are out there. Back to Lou Gehrig. He won 7 pennants and 6 World Series with the Yankees. He was known to be a shy, humble, simple, hardworking, and selfless person. Paul O'Neill mentioned on the broadcast that he's never heard anything negative about him, that he just, seems to be a really just stand-up person and human being. And then I'm going to take a second to read you his career stats. So he had 8,001 at-bats. Over his career, he got 1,888 runs, 2,721 hits, 1,995 RBIs, 1,508 walks, 493 home runs. His WAR was a 113.7. His lifetime batting average was a 340, and he had 23 grand slams in his career.
Completely ridiculous, man. He was.
I think it's still the record, by the way, the grand slams.
No, I'm pretty sure someone else on the Yankees in Yankees history broke that, unfortunately.
Okay.
You want to take a guess of who?
If I had to, I would say Tino, but he wasn't a Yankee his whole career. Is this a full-time Yankee?
Oh, he was full-time, right?
Bernie?
No.
I don't know.
A-Rod.
Well, he wasn't a Yankee his whole career. What, you're saying as a Yankee?
Well, I'm saying in baseball history for
In
most
history.
Grand Slams. Yeah, most Grand Slams in baseball history.
With an asterisk.
I cringed when it happened. Yeah, of course it's
with an asterisk. So yeah. I don't count that one.
I don't blame you. No, you're right. I when it happened, I remember like, oh God. See, this is the problem with the whole situation. Like, come on, you're passing Lou Gehrig. Like, you would think this is something we're gonna be celebrating and stuff, but it's like, but no.
You didn't need to do that. But
you
that's
were juicing.
Another episode.
You juiced it, and you went ahead and you passed him. Meanwhile, you got Gehrig on the other hand, who like had a freaking awful disease to deal with. It's tough. But yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure that was like against the Braves in Atlanta, if I remember right. When that happened, it was
Ugh. Okay.
It's not what you want.
It's definitely not what I want.
Yeah, but also, I just to talk about Lou Gehrig in general, like he does obviously get like the accolades, but I also kind of feel like in some ways, in the overall scheme of baseball, I feel like he should be spoken with in the same breath as Babe Ruth. And a lot of times,
No,
he is. He's of course he's in there, but you know what I mean. Like he's in, and the names roll off the tongue where it's like Ruth, and then I would go Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, DiMaggio, and stuff like that. So he gets his accolades, but I also, in a weird way, I kind of feel he's somewhat underrated. Like, he was just an incredible baseball player. He's definitely one of the all-time greats who's ever put on a uniform. I mean, absolute beast. And that speech of his to be diagnosed already, and he knew he was sick, and he's talking about being the luckiest man in the world. Like, that's just tremendous.
It reminds me of Jim Valvano's speech.
Yeah.
At the SP Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of them, such powerful speeches. And I recently saw that Jim Valvano, like, he was so weak, and he didn't want anybody to help him walk up the stairs or back down when he was done. But at the end, he just needed it. But he had like just gone through treatment like that, either that day or the day before, and he was like super weak. So to show the amount of grace that both of them showed while battling something, like, you don't get much. To me, that's a form of bravery that, like, it's so underrated and like underappreciated. When people think of brave, they think of, like, and rightfully so, soldiers that go to war, right? Like the obvious bravery, right?
Yeah.
But when you're battling a disease, and when you're battling something that nobody else can see, like, that's bravery. Whether it's a mental health issue, a physical issue, anything like that. Like, nobody else knows what you're going through. Nobody else knows what your body is going through.
Yeah,
and to be able to give a speech like that.
It also reminds me too of Chadwick Boseman. I mean, I know
oh my gosh,
crosses in with my other show and stuff, but yeah, like, he filmed Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame and everything while being sick.
I know, and nobody knew.
Nobody knew anything. All of a sudden, breaking news, that he passed away, and you're like, wait, what? My first thought was like, somebody murdered him or something like that, and then you find out he's sick. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You're right. It's incredible bravery right there. Yeah, so if you can, if you can donate to, ALS research and anything else, cancer and anything else, please definitely do so. I mean, it's always needed for a great cause. And hey, if you can get a t-shirt out of it to help also bring awareness or something, that's also cool too. So,
or bring back the ice bucket challenge.
It's true. I still have my video of mine. Oh man,
I have mine somewhere too.
Yeah, it's still on my phone. I was just like, man, that was something. But all right. So this is such a weird shift in stuff here, but
there's no way to shift from this serious conversation to the lunacy we're about to talk about next. So let's just say that.
Yeah, let's just say that. All right. So Peacock put out a few weeks ago. It was a documentary called Bronx Zoo 90 Crime, Chaos, and Baseball, and obviously they put the 90 because the original Yankees-related Bronx Zoo was considered the late 70s championship teams, and all that was going on there with like Reggie Jackson and Thurman Munson and everything, and Billy Martin. But this was a whole nother thing, and I always feel like I meant Lisa and I spoke off air about this. Like, I think this is an important story to tell because this story here did lead to the Yankees 90s dynasty. I mean, there's no way
that you could argue is the greatest dynasty in all of baseball history.
Yeah, like it's without this, if this doesn't happen, that doesn't happen. It's just a thing. And also, it's also important to know this though, because George Steinbrenner did a lot of great things for the organization. I'm not going to say he did. He did. But
he did.
You can't tell that part of the story without telling this part of the story as well. And this is the part of the story like that gets forgotten. I felt like after the 90s dynasty, like suddenly this evaporated, like it never happened. And I'm like, it happened. I recall it as a kid hearing some of these things, and just it's wild. But Lisa, all right. So what was your perspective on this too? Because I know You had mentioned like it was a lot of this like newer stuff and stuff like that, or or anything like that. What was your perspective of this?
Yeah, so growing up, I'm just a couple years older than you. Growing up, like my dad, I think in my dad's entire life so far, he's probably missed like a dozen games in his life. Like if that. And totally out of his control. Like he was in another state and the radio didn't pick it up or whatever. Like so I've been watching or listening to games my entire life. But I don't remember like truly tuning in and paying attention to it rather than it being background noise to whatever I was doing. Probably until I was in maybe high school, definitely college. In college, the Yankees were in the world. I was in college from 95 to 99. Great time to watch them. They were on national TV because they were in the World Series almost every year in that time period. So I got to watch it even though I went away to school. So I remember tuning in and actively paying attention then. So all that to say, the 90s, the 1990 team, I wasn't as attuned to, connected to the way I was starting in like 94, 95. So a lot of this was new to me, and I did not get to see episode 3. I saw episodes 1 and 2. I told you I thought episode 1 was terribly done. They kept going like back and forth from talking about one player for 2 seconds to talking about another, to going back to the 80s, to going forward to where they were, to going back to the 70s. And I know you had to give context for things, but I just felt like it felt like what everybody says the beginning of Game of Thrones, the book is like, it's just too many names and characters that you can't keep up at first. But episode 2 blew my mind, that I was actually mad that I didn't get to watch episode 3 before tonight. But yeah, I have to go back and finish episode 3 because that seems to be the episode mostly about George. But episode 2 was such a doozy, and I'll wait for you to comment before we start talking about it.
All right, so I'm gonna agree. I guess we'll talk about the production of the actual documentary on its own. I do think it did leave some to be desired. The actual way it was laid out. I'll admit that part. I was trying to stay focused on the material and what was being discussed. But yes, if I'm going to critique this thing, number one, I don't think it needed to be 3 parts. I think this could have been like a good 1.5 to 2 hour documentary and just kind of left it at that. I do feel it gets stretched out a little bit. So, and there's some things that are repetitive. So I will say that. And honestly, episode 3, like the last 15, 20 minutes of it are kind of telling you what happened in the 90s dynasty. Like they kind of like do that. So, I mean, that's the story everyone knows at this point. It was episode 2 is where I think the meat and potatoes of this documentary really is. Yeah, it is. So a lot of it, we're not going to go. I will think we'll just talk about it like in general, like not episode by episode, because yeah, we've already discussed the way it was laid out. I just think that part could have been a little bit tighter, or they could have told the story a little bit clearer. And I agree with you in the context part of it, but I still think that could have been there. Now, as far as it goes, I mean, I guess we could start with George, all right? Because there's the George. For me, there was the George Dave Winfield fiasco, Howard Spira, all right? Like that's one storyline that's being told, right? That's the main one. Then there's the Mel Hall aspect of this whole situation.
Holy crap. Let me just say that at the end of episode 1, when they showed a prison and somebody walking out, I was like, because I didn't know what happened to him. Because like I said, I wasn't really attuned to the team. So when they showed him sit down and introduce himself, and then they left you like that, I was like, episode 2, quick, episode 2.
See what I'm saying? Like they got you hyped up, and that's what I'm saying.
They got you so hyped.
2 is the one that really hits, and 3 is also better. 1 is just, I just, also as like a film student, I do wish it was just this could have been, this could have been better. It kind of does frustrate me a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the George Steinbrenner, Dave Winfield, Howard Spira thing. Part of this is crazy, completely insane. the fact that he was that upset with Dave Winfield, that he was willing to go to any length to basically tear him down or void his contract and wanted to trade him and anything. And meanwhile, this is the superstar that you brought in. This is George's golden boy, and all because of some stupid, petty nonsense that he kind of like didn't fine tune the contract to like the way, and he kind of felt like he looked stupid that he took out this whole vendetta. And
whose fault is that? Like, George obviously isn't the person who physically wrote the contract. So it's his legal department. Why are you getting mad at Dave Winfield? Get mad at your legal team.
yeah, and the thing is, I'm assuming it did, because George would do a lot of the negotiating with certain players like directly. So my guess is that's why he probably, in a way, blamed himself for this. Because it went past his desk at some point.
He blamed himself, but he took it out on the wrong person.
No, he did.
Take it out on yourself. Like,
yeah, I agree. And the whole getting involved with Howard Spira and his whole story of just being kind of like this like leech in a way, if you wanted to describe it as, like just complete fraud, and saying he worked for Winfield and he had all this dirt and then selling it to George, and George ends up getting suspended, which is the part that will agree with Howard Spear on. And damn it, I think he does say it in the third episode where
he does, but I knew that happened.
Yeah, he's like that he was claiming, and I know he's saying it in a different way, but I can't disagree with him on that. Him saying, well, I kind of did more for the Yankees than a lot of players did on the field. Because it's true. Like, the thing is, in context, if George doesn't get suspended and Stick Michael doesn't take over, then Jeter, Bernie, Jorge, Pettit, all of them get traded for like God knows who. Mm-hmm. I mean, washed up old dudes. We know that's what was going to happen because George was in this like vicious cycle of keep on doing this over and over again. And that's just the fact of the matter. When he came back, it was kind of like, don't mess this up. And he did. He kind of he sat back, he watched the games, he cheered on. You know, he started reverting back to himself eventually.
Oh, yeah, you can't help that.
He did, because in the 2000s, right, once Paul O'Neill retired and they lost the 2001 World Series, then it was, I got to get Giambi. I got to get this guy. Then it was back to that. And hey, they didn't fall off the planet. I mean, they stayed competitive. They went to the World Series again, but like they never sustained any of that. Like it was just misguided then.
So I gotta say a couple of things about that guy. I can't believe that. I want to make sure.
He's not a good dude.
I am not wishing death on anybody.
No.
But I can't believe that guy is alive, because back in the 80s and even probably the early 90s, like organized crime was major still.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they said he owed every crime family a lot of money. Like, how is this man still walking around on this earth? I don't know. I mean, even George, with all the connections that George Steinbrenner had, like, he couldn't make that problem go away. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that's where George drew the line, where he's like, I'll get mixed up with this guy, but I'm not going to go past that.
Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just really surprised that this guy is allowed to like not allowed, that he's still alive. I'm just really surprised about that because of all the money that he allegedly owed to folks. One thing about George that I was not surprised about, and I'm just going to say this one quick thing, was a person that he was friends with and had a very similar personality to. Yeah. And if you watch the thing, you'll know who I'm talking about. Yep. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to get into.
Yeah, we won't go there.
But I don't want to get out of sports.
Yes, I fully agree with you. And when I saw that, it did make me laugh though, because I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Same personality, definitely same personality.
And then with the George stuff too, like even because this is the part that's in episode 3, so you'll see this, and you might even recall some of this stuff. Is that when he came back, when he was reinstated, and
Mhm.
things were already in the right direction. Though he was trying to repair his public image, and he hosted SNL, and
Mhm.
he actually appeared on Seinfeld and stuff like that for one time with that because there was a recurring character.
Mhm.
And he was just more willing to make poke fun at himself, and which was, hey, maybe he learned some lessons from that. And I'm not saying George is like the Antichrist or something like that, because you do hear a lot of good stories about how he would help people and stuff, and wouldn't really make a big thing of it. And he did do that. Ironically, Donald Strawberry got his number retired by the Mets yesterday. But the thing he
Mhm.
did for Doc and Daryl was also something. And even I was listening to an interview with Donald Strawberry over the weekend, and he's always praised George as being like a nice guy, like one-on-one and stuff like that. And I don't doubt any of that. But my whole thing is, if you got to tell the entire story of the Yankees, then this is, and George Steinbrenner is a big part of it. You got to tell both sides of it, because for him
Oh
regarding
yeah.
the New York Yankees, he did do a lot of bad as well, and it's good,
Absolutely.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
as a kid, I mean, Don Mattingly is my all-time favorite Yankee. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like, this touched like something like from my childhood here, because like he even got into it with Donnie Baseball. At times he played hardball with him, and also Dave Winfield was one of my favorite Yankees growing up. It was, the big guys were Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield. I mean, Dave Righetti was also another guy, like Willie Randolph. Like, those are the Yankees
Mhm.
that I was introduced to the team. They were on the team at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just seeing the other side of it too. You're just like, damn it, man! Like, you were running one of our freaking guys out of town. Like, you were trying your best.
He almost ran two of them out of town.
Yes, and if he would have did that to Don Mattingly, I mean, I would have lost my mind as a kid. I would have completely lost. And the fact that you're going to pick a fight with Don Mattingly
Mhm.
for no reason, and they actually didn't even touch on the whole thing with the controversy about Mattingly cutting his hair as
Mhm.
well, as that was even a problem, because Donnie was pushing it with the haircut policy. So that was a whole thing that I'm surprised they didn't get into that here. But yeah, just George, like, you just were picking fights to pick fights at times.
Like his friend.
Yes, exactly. Like, just come on. It was just frustrating though.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the other main topics that were here was Mel Hall. So
Oh my gosh.
Mel Hall the short version, was a Yankees outfielder that was there, and he is serving. Is it 40? Was it 45 years or something like that?
It was, I think, 40 or 40. Yeah, something with
Yeah,
the
it was in the
40s.
40s. Let's say 40
Yeah.
plus years. Uh, he was a predator. He was, and this documentary shines a light on it big time, and the fact of how kind of open it was at the time, and people knew it was wrong, and nobody was stepping in to like say something. Now, I didn't get a chance to, but I wanted to. I am almost 100% sure I still have that yearbook, that
Oh, you
Yankees
gotta go
yearbook.
look.
I'm gonna dig
Go
for it.
look.
I'll see if I can find it by next week. I'm pretty sure, because once I saw that picture, I was like, that looks familiar. I've seen this. I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty sure I do. I know I have like the 1993 Yankees video yearbook on VHS, which I can't do anything with because it's VHS, but I still hold on to it though, just because I'm like, this is crazy that I own this. But I used to get the yearbook when I was a kid, like every
Yeah.
year and stuff, and
Yeah, of
like
course.
eventually, like, what the hell am I going to do with this?
Yeah. So,
Cringe.
I don't even know where to begin with this. All right, so if you've watched the show before, I've said I'm a social worker by trade. I'm also a woman. Like, at no point can I see, and this gets into what has happened with several other famous people over time, right? So R. Kelly, the singer, like, this happened with him multiple times, and he was found guilty of it. And
But Lisa, was R. Kelly like parading around? Like the way we heard
he
about
kind
Mel
of,
Hall, was he?
I mean, he was married to Aaliyah for like, I don't know how long it was, and she was underage. Like, so yes, he kind of was at one point, and then like it was all hidden. So yeah, but like I would love for there to be a true crime show about this, and what's her name, Chaz Easterly's family, like on it, because she was the only person from her family that was interviewed for, or that they showed the interview of for this, and she was like, the way she was talking about it was even problematic. I hope she's gone to therapy. I really do, because this guy did what like the most serious of predators do. And sadly, what R. Kelly did too. Like, you find out that your person is underage, their family names it, so then you go about pretty much seducing the family.
How does the father fall? Like, what is his deal in this whole thing? That was, I'm going to tell you, that struck me immediately, because I'm like, he just like has no partners. Like, he was well aware of it. This guy is showing up to his house and everything.
Did you hear? Did you catch this?
Crazy.
I wrote this down. He moved into their house.
Yes.
Him and Chaz moved into the parents' bedroom, and the parents moved into her bedroom. How? Okay, so like maybe you let him live in your house. Why, I don't know, because he's a baseball player and making more than your entire family is. But like, how do you allow your 15-year-old child to move into the room with him? How does the school, and the lawyer, I forgot her name, my apologies, she said, like, how does a school allow a grown man to be a young girl's prom date to her prom? And like all the kids and teachers were like, oh my God, that's so cool, you got this guy to be your prom date. Like, oh my God. He had a pool built in their backyard so that she couldn't go to the beach anymore. And did you see the creepy picture of where he would have her sit, and you saw him looking at her from the dugout? Like,
yes.
Oh,
what on earth is this? That's what I'm saying. Like, the Mel Hall part of this is by far the craziest aspect of this documentary. And that's saying a lot, because the George Winfield, Spira thing is crazy. This blows it out of the water. Because this is like a whole nother level of insanity.
I mean, this is like straight up disgusting. Like, and again, I don't know what emotion I feel for her. I really, really, really hope that she had and continues to have therapy, because she was kind of expressing it as if it was like a fun memory of her past. And like, I'm not quite sure if he gets out of prison and she's still alive, like, that they might not get back together.
Well, no, he would be. I think he's eligible to get out. He's like over 100 or something. I think.
When he's what? Over 100?
He's like over 100. He would have to be 100 and something or some shit.
All right, no, because he looks like.
No, if he got out today,
still, like, he still looks fine.
Yeah, no. If he got out today, I agree with you 100%. Like, he can totally try to pick up where he left off, kind of shit. And the crazy thing is that when Mel Hall talks about it, he doesn't seem to still have an ounce of remorse about any of this.
No, he doesn't.
Right? Like, it just wasn't me. Like, that was also wild. I'm like, dude, you're in prison. Did none of this click at any point ever? Like, what has to happen to you for you to realize?
Okay, I just looked it up. She's married. She's married and she has kids.
Yeah. No, that I remember.
How do you explain that to your children?
I don't know.
That, like, your grandparent, hey, grandma and grandpa let this man that we didn't know that was a famous baseball player move in with us and date me when I was 15.
Yeah.
And he went to my prom with me. Here's a picture.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's what I'm saying. Like, someone in a Yankees organization, which, again, it sounds like everyone.
Oh my God.
Everyone knew that this was wrong, but no one was willing to step in and stop it or do something about it at any point. It's just.
I mean, I would like to think that those days are way behind us now, and that would never happen again anywhere, any major sport, but you never know.
Yeah, well, I think I would say yes to this extreme. You know what I mean? Because this camera's everywhere.
Oh, to this level of blatancy? Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At least to this level of blatancy. Like that, but that's the part that gets me. I'm not, like, I knew about Mel Hall, why he was in prison. I was well aware of that. but like the blatancy in the way that's a perfect way to describe it. The way he went about his business with it. That's the part I didn't recall because again, this was happening when I was like 10, 11 years old. So that part wasn't clicking.
I mean, first of all, why was he even allowed to like continue being a player when he brought two freaking animal cougars into the dugout, into the
clubhouse? Two literal cougars.
Literal cougars on chains, and they peed all over the carpet. Like, why was that allowed to happen? You're putting your entire team in like literally life's jeopardy.
And you know who's my favorite reactions to some of this was? Buck Showalter, who was even like, man, I tried to forget about the 1992, like so bad. And even Don Mattingly was like, he was like, oh my God, please, why do we have to? He was
like, yes, he brought cougars into the clubhouse. Yes.
You could see he was so like aggravated about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me tell you, there were some weird freaking things. The thing about I almost threw up in my mouth about Stump Merrill.
Oh God! I remember having a baseball card of him as
when they said that he would spit out his chewing. I can't even say it.
Oh yeah, yep.
I can't. I'm sorry, folks. I can't say it. You have to watch the episode because it's gonna make me throw up. I just thought that was so gross. And then they go on and be like, and Nelson Mandela came to the stadium that year too. Like, dude.
What?
What a weird year for Nelson Mandela to come to the stadium.
It was crazy times. And also not mentioned here specifically is, look up Steve Howe and his whole thing. But how many times he was a relief pitcher for the Yankees who George kept on giving chances to, who was drug addiction. Yeah. That's another thing. Like he was suspended a whole bunch of times. Yeah, it was wild. I mean, crazy shit was going down in the Bronx during this time. And yeah, whenever you mention, like, I remember people last year talking about, man, it's like the Yankees being 2 games over 500. It was like sad and depressing and stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to disagree with some of this, but then my mind would go back to the early 90s Yankees as a kid, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen worse.
Yeah, it's been worse.
I've seen worse than this. Yep. Hold my beer. Let me. I present to you this documentary. I show you the 1991, 92 Yankees and stuff like that. Like, and I would always say the Mel Hall, Jesse Barfield era of like the Yankees. Like it was just brutal. And also, not going to gloss over the Kevin Moss thing. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I despise Kevin Moss. I always have. I booed him at Old Timers Day one year. Okay, it was deep because I remember when this was happening that the talk was, oh, he's going to replace Don Mattingly. And as a child, I lost my mind. I'm like, screw you, Kevin Moss. Absolutely not. Never again. And it was... And then it was the whole thing about when he would hit a home run, and then there were female fans flashing at the stands also. Like, again, this is all going down in the open, like no problem. And he was even asked him about it. Like, did you ever see it? He goes, well, I was hitting the baseball and rounding the bases at this time. He goes, but when it got back to me, he was like, tried to look briefly and stuff, but it wasn't happening. Is there anything else I'm leaving out here? Because I almost feel like,
I mean, it was really brief, but they talked about in the second episode, they talked about the whole Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson game.
Yes. Even George signing Deion Sanders.
I mean, didn't he also? It was a minor league contract, right? But Michael Jordan.
No, right? Michael Jordan signed with the White Sox.
Oh, with the White Sox, right?
But that was years later, and that was also when he had retired and he was going to pursue baseball, and then the strike happened.
Right.
In '94, and that kind of nixed that, thank God, and forced him back to basketball where he needs to be. He got to live out his boyhood dream. Like, I understand his father passed away and he kind of was going through some stuff. But hey, he gave it a shot. I mean, but Deion Sanders, though, who was never a particularly great baseball player at all, and the whole showdown with him and Bo Jackson, it is cool to look back on, though. Just that specific thing. Because he was like the lesser version. He was like the imitation Bo Jackson. If you want to look at it like that.
Like the super imitation. Because Bo Jackson hit 3 home runs that game. And he hit... The only reason why it was a home run is because Bo Jackson missed the, when he dove
Bo went after it full extension.
Bo was like, F this, I'm catching it, and then he didn't. And then it looked like he got out of the plate, but I'm just, who am I? I thought he got tagged out both times, but apparently he didn't.
Well, the difference being that Bo Jackson was truly a beast.
Yeah.
At professional baseball and football. Dion did his thing, Hall of Famer.
An amazing football player and coach now.
And don't get me wrong, like stealing bases and stuff like that, and his speed and everything, that was great. I also remember him when he got to the Braves. He had the whole thing where he played football and baseball. He got flown to like the World Series that the Braves were in that same day. That was wild. So, but a lot of people don't recall Deion Sanders was a Yankee at one point. And that did happen, and that does get touched on here. Not well remembered for a lot of reasons. It's just a circus, a total circus.
That was such a circus, though.
Yeah, and then I also remember as a kid, Pascual Perez. That whole thing when they signed him, I remember having his baseball card and stuff like that. He was another.
I love it that they had to send one of the trainers down to DR, and he was just like playing dominoes and chilling.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just not ready to go yet."
And then they bring him up, and then George forces him to put on a show. Ends up blowing out his shoulder. That's wild. Molito Perez ended up pitching for the Yankees as well. I believe that was his cousin that ended up pitching for them. Not as many issues and stuff like that. It was just a mediocre pitcher. That was the Pascual Perez stuff that goes on in this thing. Crazy times in the Yankee land.
Very crazy times.
All right, so if you knock out episode 3, we could talk about it briefly next week. Because I want to kind of get your reactions on some of that, but that's basically what's covered in. So if you're interested in it, I would suggest go checking it out. But yeah, the production of it is so. But try to focus in on the content. I would say
you could skip episode 1 because everything they touch on in episode 1, they touch on in episodes 2 and 3 anyway. I would imagine. Well, definitely in episode 2 they did.
It's redundant.
It's extremely redundant.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's get to some current Yankee baseball then, since we've gone through the roller coaster of Lou Gehrig and the 1990 Yankees. Let's talk about the 2024 one. So, Yanks would go ahead last Tuesday night and start their series in Anaheim, which has been a house of horrors for the Yankees for quite some time now. But they would drop the opener by a final of 4-3. Nestor Cortez did get the start, took a no decision, 5 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 4 Ks. Juan Soto, via things to come, 2 for 5 with his 15th home run of the season, driving in 2. Anthony Volpe was 2 for 5. So this was a game where the Yanks had the lead, and just like that, completely imploded. A big error by Anthony Rizzo, and then that was what we talked about last game in San Diego, kind of opened up the floodgates for this because this never would have happened. But Clay Holmes, got his 3rd blown save of the season with this one. And when you stay up late night and this is the ending,
it's not worth it.
It is so you regret your decision so much. So yeah, Lisa, you got anything? And this is, by the way, Billy, our boy Billy Santos was at this game.
He was. He sent us a picture. Sorry, Billy. I know I know Maria was really happy. Yes, I have a couple of things. One stat is that the Yankee starters, as of that game, had gone 5 innings or more with 2 or fewer runs in 15 straight games, which was the longest streak since 1893. It's a long, long time. And when Anthony Volpe extended his hitting streak to 20 games in the top of the 2nd, he and Joe DiMaggio were the only Yankees with at least a 20-game hitting streak at the age 23 or younger. So good for Anthony Volpe being right up there in talks with Joe DiMaggio already in his career. Those are my two little fun facts.
All right, so the Yanks would go ahead and bounce back, thankfully, the next night. And I'm going to say thankfully again because there's more, seems like there's more on the line, like we talked about, if you're going to stay up and watch these things or battle through it to do your best. The Yanks did hold on and take this one by a final 2-1. Luis Heel got his 7th win of the season. His record's now 7-1. 8 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Clay Holmes did bounce back, though, got his 16th save of the season. Alex Verdugo, 1 for 4 with his 8th home run of the year. That guy, Anthony Volpe, 2 for 5 with a run scored and a triple. What were your, before I drop in my Katie Sharp thing, what were your notes on this game?
So the only note I had was that Luis Heel went 6-0 in May with a .070 ERA and 44 strikeouts in 38 2/3 innings.
So that's a perfect segue because I'm going to just elaborate on it.
Great. I mean, between him and Aaron Judge, like May was their month.
Yes, absolutely. So Luis Heel in May, as you mentioned, 44 strikeouts and an .70 ERA. Heel is the only pitcher in Yankees history, which we always love that, with 40-plus strikeouts and a sub-075 ERA in any calendar month. I mean, this dude is doing work right now. It is serious, man.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't reiterate enough. Lisa and I were all about Heel for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Just had to get that command down. And it looks like he has, and it's definitely showing. All right, so the Yanks would go ahead and take the series, though, the following night by a final of 8-3. Carlos Rodon picked up his 7th win of the season, going 6, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. Aaron Judge, 1 for 5 with a mammoth home run for his 18th home run of the season. 2 RBIs. Juan Soto, 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs, a run scored, 2 walks, and a triple. And shockingly, this will not be the last time we mention Juan Soto adding triples into his game now.
Or a couple other people either. Or
Yes.
at least one other person either.
Well, the other person I'm not shocked about. This is the guy.
No.
Well, actually, I
No,
take
but
that back.
he's...
One of them I am shocked about. The other one, not so much. Yes, I agree with you. 2 of the people, but Juan Soto, not that he's slow, but I mean,
you don't think it. Yeah.
And the triple that was here that cleared the bases, it was just down the first baseline. And I'm like, all right, it's gonna be like a single, maybe a double kick off the wall, and it's just like you could have thrown it better. That the way it curved, it was pretty awesome. But Yanks finally defeating the rally monkey, defeating the weird stuff that goes on with the rocks in the outfield, and I still remember just every time the Yankees go to friggin' play the Angels, there's just nonsense that happens. And after the first night, I'm not gonna lie, it creeped into my mind again. I'm like, this team sucks. This shouldn't be happening anymore. But thankfully, the world was right by the end of the series.
Yep. So a couple of facts that I have for this one are that the Yankee starters have gotten at least 4 innings pitched in all 58 games this season, which ties their longest streak to begin a season. Do you want to know how long ago that was? It wasn't as long as 1893, but it was a while ago.
Okay, so I'm going to say 50s?
Nope.
Went further than that.
Mm-hmm.
20s.
Nope, keep going.
Jesus, all right. Now we're done. Were they even the Yankees yet? Was it the Highlanders? Was it the 1910?
It was 1904.
1904. So they were barely the Yankees at that time.
Yep.
Wow.
And then, I mean, we're gonna actually, I'll skip that one because we're gonna talk about him more later. Okay. It's an Aaron Judge one.
Well, speaking of that guy, though, the Yanks would shift over to San Francisco, where you knew there was going to be a lot of juicy stuff with Aaron Judge here because this is the first time he's gotten to play in San Francisco in his hometown. And then we have the idea that they thought that they were signing him a couple of years ago, and arson Judge and all of this stuff. And he definitely put on a show this weekend.
He
Friday
should, to
night,
a lot of booing.
to a lot of booing. And yes, he was booed to no end in his first plate appearance on Friday night. But also Steph Curry, apparently other members of the Warriors turned out in the San Francisco 49ers, and everyone was ready to go. It was like a big deal. And Marcus Stroman got in on that, though, as he picked up his 5th win of the season. His record's now 5-2, 7 in the third, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. Aaron Judge, 2 for 4 with 2 home runs, giving him 20 on the season at that point. Driving in 4, Anthony Rizzo, 2 for 4 with a run scored and a double. So, yeah, pretty big night in San Francisco, and I am somewhat kicking myself in the ass for not sticking to it to go. This would have been a wild series to be at.
It would have been.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. All right, go ahead. What do you have on this game here?
Both stats are about him, so I'll just save it for when I talk about his collective May.
Okay. All right. Well, the collective May that we're talking about did wrap up on. Well, actually, yeah. No, that was it. It wrapped up here. So
on that day. All right.
Yeah.
So I have multiple stats for him. Sorry, there's a fly in my
I feel like a
little gnat. So if you see me, that's what I'm doing. So the 2 stats for this particular game were he hit his 276th career home run, which was number 19 in the top of the 3rd. And at that point, he had 14 home runs, 12 doubles in May, which surpassed Lou Gehrig's 12-12 in July 1930 as the most prolific in a month in Yankee history. So once again, like
always
the most in Yankee history. And then in the top of the 6th, when he hit home run 20 of the year, which was 112.3 miles an hour, by the way, that was his 38th extra base hit in 59 games, and it's the most all-time by a Yankee through May. Previously, Lou Gehrig had 36 in 43 games in 1927. And let me just scroll up to the stats that I got for his month of May. In Oracle Park, he had 3 home runs in 8 plate appearances. Eddie, to give the importance of this perspective, Tyro Estrada and Mike Yastrzemski, who do they play for?
Giants.
What park do they play in?
Oracle Park.
Okay, so respectively, each one of them has 3 home runs in 109 and in 90 plate appearances this year at their home park. That's courtesy of somebody named DB on X. Yesterday, Katie Sharp, who we both really respect and love, wrote that in his last 25 games, he's had 15 home runs, 12 doubles, 20 walks. The only other person to do that was Babe Ruth in 1921. He had 25 extra base hits this month. Mookie Betts and Pete Alonso have 25 each this season. This season. He's currently in first place in all of baseball in slugging percentage, OPS, WAR, and hard hitting percentage, followed by Juan Soto. And his May stats are a .371 batting average, 27 RBIs, a .488 on base percentage, 928 slugging, and 1.415 OPS.
This is like somebody's playing the show. Like this is they're at home, like they're just playing video games now at this point.
And isn't it funny what everybody was saying about him in April? I have a family member. I won't shout them out, but they know who they are.
Who I've said on
the show. I've said on this show they're a fair weather Yankee fan, and in the first 5 games of the season, this person kept saying, "Oh, you should have traded him. You should have traded him." And me and another family member were like, "You're bugging. He'll be fine." And of course we were right. Like, come on. This guy is having another MVP year, followed very closely by his teammate and battery mate Juan Soto. Like, it's going to be, if they keep playing the way they're playing for the rest of the season, it's going to be really hard to choose which one of them is going to be MVP.
Maybe co-MVP.
Maybe co.
Maybe go. It hasn't happened in a while, but it could be on the table
possible.
if they both continue at this pace.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be impossible to not. I mean, to pick one.
It would be.
So
those were my Aaron Judge May stats. Good for you, Aaron Judge. Good for you.
completely astounded of how red hot this dude has been at the plate.
And he stole a couple bases. Well, we'll get to that because that was today. Sorry.
Well, it wouldn't. The calendar would change, but apparently Aaron Judge's bat would not change though, because the Yankees would take this one by final 7-3 on Saturday night. Not mentioned yet, but Clark Schmidt unfortunately hit the IL, and doesn't sound like we're going to see him for a while, unfortunately. But Cody Petit basically gave us a Clark Schmidt start and picked up his second win of the season. Right, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. If I just covered up the name, I would have been like, all right, well, Clark Schmidt took the hill. Aaron Judge 2 for 3 with another homer, 21 on the season, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and a walk. Giancarlo Stanton 2 for 4 with his 14th home run of the season, driving in 2, and that was an impressive one because nobody. I mean, I think if the camera angle also looked like Giancarlo didn't really know if it was going to stay fair or not.
It was close to the line.
It was, but I thought it was going to hit like the foul pole, like the way he was looking at it. But I mean, but he just tattooed it. I mean, that's probably why. It just wasn't sure if it was going to go. Stay fair at least. Juan Soto was 2 for 3 with an RBI, a run scored, and yes, another triple because, or I was going to call it AT&T Park, Oracle Park, because that's what it used to be. Does yield a lot of triples in there in that alley, especially like in right center. Alex Verdugo 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, and 2 RBIs, a run scored, and yes, had his own triple as well, which was also pretty wild to see because yes, he's not a guy who I'm expecting too many triples out of either. So things just kept on rolling, and at that point, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You have notes because I have one note here from Katie Sharp regarding the Yankees in general.
I have one note about Aaron Judge when he hit his 21st home run of the season, which was 115.7 miles per hour. That was his 13th career home run of 460 plus feet, all of them since 2017, and the most in Major League Baseball in that span.
It's like I just keep saying video games. That's what it looks like. I mean, the dude is
seriously
6'7", just destroying the baseball on every level here. All right, so from Katie Sharp, this is the 9th time the Yankees have won at least 41 of their first 60 games and had a run differential of at least plus 100 through 60 games, which also happened in 2022, which we know unfortunately how that one went. 1998.
We know how that went.
We know how that one went. 53, 1942, 1939, 1932, 1928, and 1927, which we also know how those ended. But they won the World Series in 6 of the 8 other times that this has happened. So, fortunately, one of the 2 times it didn't happen was a couple of years ago. But the thing is, the comparisons too, and I've heard some people comparing like, well, in 2022 they got off to a hot start as well. And they did. But even then, and I know what their record was at the time, but people making comparisons to the 98 Yankees, I was even like, pump the brakes, buddy. Like, let's calm down at that time. This team is not that team. And I'm not saying guaranteeing anything, but you can just tell, like, number one, you have Juan Soto now. You have a much balanced roster. There is no Aaron Hicks. There is no Josh Donaldson. Like, this is a better built baseball club. And I'm not saying that they're perfect. Also not saying they're the 98 Yankees. But better balanced here.
And their ace isn't even back yet.
Yes, their ace, thankfully, will be starting his rehab assignment on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that's just knock on wood that he gets back. Because the Clark Schmidt injury does open up the spot because we were wondering, like, what do you do here? Well, it just so happens that's unfortunately what happened. All right. With all of that said, that doesn't even take us to tonight's earlier this afternoon's game, where the Yankees rallied past the Giants by a final 7-5.
What a game!
Incredible comeback. Nestor Cortez did get the start though, did struggle mightily. Only lasted 4 1/3, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Clay Holmes picked up his 17th win of the season. pretty easy 1-2-3 job for him. But Juan Soto, 3 for 5, 2 home runs. They're giving him 17 on the season right now. 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored. Aaron Judge, 2 for 3, with 2 walks, and a run scored, and 2 stolen bases. Anthony Volpe, 2 for 5 with an RBI and a triple of his own. That was a guy who I was not surprised by.
Me either.
Scored, and 2 runs scored. Alex Verdugo was 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a double, and a walk. So Yanks were down 2 going into the 9th inning. Okay. And it did look like Gleyber Torres leads off with a single. Jose Trevino hits a weak grounder, which looked like I was concerned it was going to be a double play, but
Should have been
to
a
him.
double play.
Should have been, but kudos to him for hustling it out. But that allowed the floodgates to really open, because then Volpe hits an opposite field triple, which I think it was O'Neill made me laugh, though, because I was thinking the same kind of thing, where I was wondering if this was going to be an inside the park home run, and that Trevino was going to slow down Volpe from scoring. But that cut the lead to 1, and then Juan Soto gave the Yanks the lead with a 2-run homer. That was a complete moonshot. I was wondering if it was going to hit McCovey Cove at the time when it was off the bat.
It came close.
It did come close. It absolutely did.
I would say it was maybe 4 rows shy of clearing.
Sick. And I was even because usually when I get seats to the road ballparks, I try to sit in different places if it's possible. I did want to sit over there for one of the games. Now, I'm just kept thinking to myself, if this would have been the game, boy. No, I was leaning towards this game because it was the day game, and they talk about how freezing cold it is at night. So I'm like,
you could see the way they were dressed.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need to do that right off the water for a night game. The day game is what I was looking at. I'm like, fuck. Whatever. Decisions were made. And they tacked on the insurance run. So, I mean, man, just Soto was just. And him and Judge, now that they've been red hot together, it's just wild. It is just wild what they can do, man. And also, not to sleep on it, Giancarlo Stanton is also quietly having a solid year for himself and staying healthy.
Yes, and that's a big part of this season that's important as well. So I do have a couple stats, and one of them has to do with him. First, I'll go to Anthony Volpe. His on-base streak, even though his hitting streak was broken, his on-base streak is at 29 games now, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When Giancarlo Stanton got his hit today, he got his 1,500th career hit. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, milestone.
And then I think the cutest thing was that Art Shalek visited the team today and came to the game. For anybody that doesn't know, he's the oldest living MLB player. He's 100 years old, and he played for the Yankees with Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, and he was Yogi Berra's roommate. How cute is that?
That's pretty awesome.
Meredith Morakovitz asked him before the game, I don't know if you caught this, she asked him who was the hardest player he faced, and he said Ted Williams, no surprise. And she said, how did you get him out? And he said, I threw him a lot of junk.
That's how you got to get great hitters out, because you ain't going to blow anything past them.
I think it's cute. And God bless him, 100 years old, able to go to the park. They said that his mind is 100% sharp. It's just that his hearing is bad. But you're 100. Your hearing, your hearing should be bad.
Yeah.
So God bless him for being able to attend today's game and be with it and crack jokes. I love hearing things like that.
So speaking of visitors for the Yankees, by the way, and I didn't mean I got caught up here, but did you see who visited the Yankees on Saturday?
No, that was a really late game.
From their residency in Vegas, so they were close enough. So Meredith interviewed the RZA.
Oh yes, yes, that was Saturday. Oh, I thought
Saturday.
It was today. I thought it was today's game because
they were
interviewed. Yeah, I did that. I did see that.
I mean, come on. For me, it was
That's really cool.
Perfect. This world's colliding here.
I know that's like two of your favorite things together.
It is true. I mean, come on. This is phenomenal stuff here. I'm like, yes. And Michael King referencing "Protect Your Neck."
Oh my God! Not only did he reference that in his Twitter post, but there was a party boat going past the outfield during one of the games, and Michael K told Paul O'Neill, Oh, the people on that boat look lit. And
Okay.
Polonio was like, can you tell me what that means? And he's like, they're having a really good time, Paul. That's from him hanging out with Rosenberg all the time.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So Yanks going ahead, cruising along here, and now this is when like standings and stuff can start. I start taking them more seriously around Memorial Day, June 1st, and stuff like that. So Yanks go ahead, got the I believe it's the second most wins in baseball to the Phillies right here. They got a 3-game lead on the Orioles, who aren't going to go away. It's going to be a battle all season for them, but whatever happens, you want to win that division. Avoid that wild card round. Still a very long way to go, but it's just now. Yeah, now is the time to start paying attention to the little details like that. Not to get fall out of your chair about it, but now it's like okay, now things are starting to get a little bit heavier with that. All right, let's get into our awards of the week. So top hitter. Is there really an option here?
Yes, there's
Okay.
two.
Okay, go ahead. Who do you have then, Lisa?
So I intentionally picked one, and you might pick the other. I don't know.
Go ahead. Who is your top of the heap hitter of the week?
Mine was Juan Soto.
Okay.
Did we have the same person, or did you pick the other obvious answer?
I went with the obvious.
Okay, but Juan Soto had a great week.
He did it. He absolutely, for sure, had a great weekend.
So his weekend stats was he had a 435 average. His OPS was 1.500. He had 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 7 runs, 10 hits, 4 walks. His on-base percentage was 500, and his slugging was 1,000.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, I went with Judge because it's like he was freaking hitting a home run every other night, and MLB.
So was Juan Soto.
I know that. I'm not knocking it, but I mean, we spent most of the. Well, yeah, I guess we basically were.
We talked about both of them.
Of them quite a bit. They were pretty much the headlines of every single game.
Yes.
So, damn it, freaking app is messing me up here. I was keep on trying to pull up the Judge stats for the week because I usually pull it up on my app, and they've changed the format. Why do they keep giving me OPS? They will only give me OPS.
Okay, hold on. I could pull up his stats on the one I use. It's probably different than yours.
What do you use for this?
MLB.
I usually use the Yankees one. Yeah, and that's what I keep clicking on, and they're messing me up here.
Let me see.
Very strange. I'm taking like this whole thing.
Hitting for the week. Let's see. Okay, I've got it. So his average was 364. His OPS was 1.390. He had 4 home runs, 9 RBIs, 6 runs, 8 hits. Hold on, I gotta scroll. 5 walks. His on-base percentage was 481, and his slugging percentage was a 909.
So, pretty good stuff.
Juan Soto's was better.
Perhaps, but the hometown kid going back to go play there also kind of like swayed me over to that.
Oh no, that was a really cool story. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
King of the Hill.
All right, who do you
King
have?
of the Heel, pitcher of the week. Yes.
We have the same one.
Yeah, well, honestly, I mean, starting pitching wise, and relievers too wasn't really anyone's popping out besides Luis Heel, but yeah, I mean, he had the start against the Angels. You mentioned it. He's 7-1 now, 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So he was definitely the top pitcher of the week over here. We got a comment here from our buddy Raul. It's the Boogie Down Bronx party right now with Soto and Judge leading the charge. Yeah. And the pitching as well. I mean, just crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. All right. So we agreed on the Heel. We could have went. We were close on there. Nobody's wrong on that one. Well, no one's ever really wrong there. With that thing, with the awards of the week. So, do we have anything for Twins and the Yankees?
We did because I did my due diligence as soon as the game was over and checked again because prior to the game we did not. But now we
Wow.
do. We have them all. So for the Twins on Tuesday, don't forget tomorrow's an off day because they're traveling back from the West Coast. Um, Bailey Ober or Ober, I don't know how to say his last name, is a right-hand pitcher. He'll be getting the start on Tuesday. He has a 5-3 record, 4.89 ERA, and 58 strikeouts. He will be up against our King of the Hill, Luis Gehrig. He's a 7-1 record. As Ed said, he has a 1.99 ERA and 79 strikeouts on the season. On Wednesday, Chris Paddock will be playing for the Twins. He's a righty with a 4-2 record, 4.57 ERA, and 54 strikeouts. He'll be up against Carlos Rodon. He's a lefty with a 7-2 record, 3.09 ERA, and 62 strikeouts on the season. And on Thursday, the final game of that series, they will be pitching Pablo Lopez for the Twins. He's a righty with a 5-5 record, 4.84 ERA, 75 strikeouts on the season. And he'll be going against Marcus Stroman, who that weekend will be in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what their schedule looks like. He might not be able to go to the parade. But he has a 5-2 record, 2.73 ERA, and a 55 strikeouts on a season. And I'm saying that because he is one of the folks who is going to be one of the grand marshals of the parade. So I'm assuming they're going to. It's always the second Sunday in June. I'm assuming they'll let him go.
They have a night game
he'll have
anyway.
pitched on Thursday.
Yeah, they have a night game too. So.
Yeah, so he'll definitely be able to go to the parade. So that's fun. By the way, real quick thing, they're playing the Twins. Twins always make me remember, think about Prince and how I want to go to Minnesota to see the Yankees play the Twins and then go to Paisley Park. On Friday, I know we're doing this in the summer one year.
Yes, not when they're playing like in April or anything like that. I'm good.
No. It has to be specifically in the months of June, July, or August.
Yes.
Late June, July, and August.
Yeah.
On Friday, I did a really cool thing, though. I went to Brooklyn Bridge Park's roller skating rink at Pier 2 and did a Prince-themed roller skating night. Now, I do want to say this. The DJ was trash. They should have let me DJ it because he kept playing the same, 7 to 10 songs. And when I asked him to play another song that is a good song to roller skate to, he said, Prince only has 10 fast songs in his collection. And I was like, sir, let me pull out 10 more for you to play. Here you go. Play this song, play this song, play this song. He didn't play any of my recommendations. I heard he played Purple Rain. That's not a fast song, sir. It's a great song. It's an amazing song. Not a fast song. So he played Purple Rain, Kiss, and 3 other songs 4 times each in the 2.5 hours that I roller skated. I was very disappointed in the DJ, but had a great time, and that's a really pretty park.
That's me. When you start replaying songs in one of your sets as a DJ, and I am not a DJ by any stretch of the imagination, obviously, but I just think that's lame. It's lazy. It's
so lazy. I was like, let me give you my Spotify Prince playlist. That's almost all fast songs of his. And you clearly don't know who he is. And then he had the nerve to say, if it was Michael Jackson, it would be another story. Well, sir, this is not the Michael Jackson theme night. It's the Prince one. Get it right. Do your homework.
Another quick comment.
Yep.
I hope you guys are going to one of the games next weekend against the Dodgers. It should be a great series, in my opinion. Yes, I will actually be there on Saturday night. I am only going to one of the games because it happened to just fall like that. I wanted to go to another one, but I will be at the Twins series because when you start trading games around, you end up going to a bunch. It has to mathematically happen. So there'll be a whole lot of Yankees Twins for me this upcoming series. But yeah, Saturday night I will be there because Fox and ESPN were not going to let Yankees Dodgers go. So of course they have to have the primetime games, which works out though because.
We have games.
Because we have games and pretty important ones. So that actually works out perfectly there.
It does.
And I will be going with Jerry on Saturday night. He will actually be showing up to a Yankees game. We will find out if he can tone down his love for Shohei Ohtani to cheer for the Yankees. We'll see. He might be conflicted. I don't know. I mean, last year he went with one game. One game last year. Actually, no, sorry. It was 2 games. One of them was against the Angels. with Ohtani again. And he was fawning over him the entire time. It was embarrassing.
Is he scheduled to pitch against us?
No, he can't.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry, yeah. But he will be hitting. Obviously, he's there.
Yeah, obviously.
So no, yes, Ro, I'm very much looking to that Yankees Dodgers series. It is. I'm trying to hold back from not wanting to jump into one of the other games. Can't Friday though because I actually have softball. Sunday night though, I'm like, there, but stop it. So, all right. So I think that pretty much does it for us this week. Let's hit.
Yeah, we had a lot to discuss.
It was a lot. But yeah, thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, so check out the Empire 161 Show's Facebook group. We dropped all our lineups and highlights and a lot of other cool stuff that we were talking about here. So check us out there. Check out Pop Culture Bros. That's what we are presented by, popculturebros.com. If you check us out on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Bros. And on X, you can follow at Pop Culture Bros. You can also follow at Empire 161 Show. On Instagram, at the _Empire_161_ show. It's got a lot better with it. I don't even have to read it off the thing anymore. So you can check us out there as well. Lisa manages that account. So I'm sure there's a lot of fun stuff going on there as well. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Have a good night.